players. First up, I have Cerulean playing.
Tazarath, the evil paladin of
Excellent. Paladin of Conquest for people that didn't catch that. Next up, I have one player carrying two players. Alexios K playing as.
Snake, who is a Yuan-Ti sorcerer of the Draconic Path. And then I also am playing Fixer Upper, who is an half-orc war priest.
Excellent. Next, we have Kyle, who is playing as.
Bob, the lovable yet gruff, what's he called? Tiefling warlock, who follows the Great Old One.
Excellent. And last but not least, we have my dear friend Starmie playing as.
Melrath, the dwarf Elbridge Knight.
Excellent. So a quick recap for the players primarily. Last time, in the off chance that you cannot remember the terror that you personally have inflicted upon the world, you had been captured and taken to Slubduldop, where you were going to be sacrificed to the Sea Father Limolugan, who turned out to be Demogorgon, the Demon Prince of Chaos. In the fight that you had with Demogorgon, or sorry, not Demogorgon, the Kuato of Slubduldop, they completed a ritual that allowed them to summon Demogorgon from the depths, and he has left his home plane, which I believe is the Abyss, and entered the Prime Material plane, where he can now wreak havoc on the mortal world in the Underdark. And in fact, for anybody who had not noticed up until this point, the central decal on all of our screens is Demogorgon.
Oh, yeah. Neat.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And that shows the havoc that he intends to wreak on the Underdark. Now, the party had gotten involved, and there were a great number of deaths. Bupido, Topsy and Turvy, and Shushar all were killed over the course of this battle.
And I killed a couple of them, didn't I, with my
Bupido,
fireball?
Topsy, and Turvy, you
Oof.
single-handedly
Ouch.
killed 3 of your allies.
Sorry.
You're just terrible.
I've had instances where I was a player. There was one game where, just out of sheer coincidence, we killed none of the villains and we killed all of the heroes we were supposed to rescue. Or
Shit happens.
Exactly. And I was like, we're still the good guys, right? Question mark.
Question mark.
So you guys have a long way to go before you're going to reach that level. But at the moment, you have managed to loot one location. Everybody got onto the boat, and thanks to the reduced party size, you are all able to fit on one boat. You found the sturdiest one that you could, and it still looks like utter ass. So you have cast yourself out into the water, and as you are escaping, as you are evading Demogorgon himself, you are in the boat watching him stomp slowly through the water towards Subduldop. And as you get further and further away, he finally makes landfall. And you can see his tentacled arms sweeping up Kuatoa in large batches, tossing them into his mouth. He sets fires randomly throughout the settlement, and generally wreaks utter havoc with absolute ease. It is quite terrifying to see. So, I'm going to take just a second and make sure that I have posted this link. Okay. Video games here. And next thing that I want to handle briefly before we continue, I have treasure for you guys. So if you'll all switch over to the inventory screen of the party sheet, here's what you managed to run away with. You currently have 3 Azurite gemstones. They're worth 10 gold pieces a pop. There is a Daragar made bronze cup. It is very plain, but it is, well crafted. It will stand up to a lot of wear. It's probably worth about 25 gold pieces. You managed
Unless it has historical value.
Well, one of the things about the Daragar, which we'll be learning more about as you get closer to Gracklslug, is that the Daragar don't really do much in the way of ornamentation. They're very functional people. So it is, even if it had historical value, it would be difficult to tell because there's just a very simple pattern on it, and that's about it. And the main focus of it is how well crafted of a cup it is. You also found a silk handkerchief, which is embroidered with a spider design. It's almost certainly of Drow origin. It was found next to a silver choker, which also has a spider design and is about the right size to fit a Drow neck. That silver choker is worth about 25 gold pieces. Now, you also used a manta ray skin to grab all of these coins and drag them back to the boat. So you found 290 gold pieces, 500 silver pieces, and 1,000 copper pieces, which is 10 gold. Um, right? Yeah, 2 decimal points. Yeah, so 10 gold.
How
So
much does the silver convert to?
silver pieces are 10 to a gold piece, so that's 50
Oh,
gold.
okay.
Does anybody particularly care who gets the treasure? I'll just assign it otherwise.
Not particularly.
Okay. Then I'm just going to put it on Melrath because I believe he has the highest strength in the party.
Is Ron still alive? Can we make him carry it all?
Ron is still alive.
He's still
However,
alive.
I cannot assign Ron treasure because he is not officially a player character. So,
Well, why not?
I mean, if you want to run him, you're more than welcome to do so, but then you don't get my wonderful voice acting.
Oh yeah, you're right. Okay.
Yeah.
Gotta keep priorities.
Exactly.
Mhm.
So I've assigned all of those different items, so that's out of the way now. Put that there. So the party is going to level. Oh, you've already leveled. That's fine. Wait, you leveled, but your hit points are down.
We didn't
No,
level from that
Are we
battle.
leveling to 4 or?
You should have been leveling to 3, I think. Weren't you already 4? Or sorry,
No, we were already
We
3.
were already 3.
then you are supposed to level to 4. However, don't do it yet.
Okay.
Because we have traversing the Darklake to go. So at the moment, even if you weren't simply trying to escape the Underdark, you have the following options for travel places, and I'm fairly certain I know where you're going to want to go, but I do want to give you the choice.
Mhm.
You are on the Darklake, and there are kind of 3 places that you can sort of get to from here. You can cut across the Darklake and try to make it to Gracklslug, however it is pronounced. And if you go to Gracklslug, it is one of the most well fortified cities in the Underdark, which means that even if Demogorgon stomps his ass all the way over there, he would still have a moderate fight to try to get himself into that city and lay waste to it. It
Mhm.
would take him some time, which he also is busy with Sildildop at the moment, so you guys have a bit of a head start. There's a couple of different places that he can go to from there, and you're not sure which one he will do, um, because of course, who knows what a chaotic demon prince is going to do. So anyways, your 2 options are as follows. You can make it to Gracklslug, which is well fortified, or you can try to make it to Neverlight Grove. Now, if you want to go to Neverlight Grove, it's not actually on the edge of Darklake like Gracklslug is. You'll have to land approximately where you want to, and then make it over to the Neverlight Grove. Now, Neverlight Grove, as a reminder, is a Myconid colony. Myconid are fungus people that live in the Underdark. They are actually like Stool, who has been part of the party and very silent because he doesn't really have any personality, according to the book. So he's mostly here to just help characters translate in case they don't speak some of the languages of the Underdark. But his people live in Neverlight Grove, and that is his goal to get back to them. And then there's from either of those places, Blingden Stone is an excellent target. It is a city that has I believe it's deep gnomes. There's one Underdark race, and only one, that is like neutral good. Everything else is usually outright evil or neutral evil, usually. Um, so they are a pretty dang good, secondary target to get to. They're also moderately well armed, as it were, against invasion because they have to watch out for the nearby Menzoberranzan, which is the capital city of the Drow. So, Neverlight Grove or Grackle Slug? What is the party's choice? I can do a vote real quick. That'll make it nice and easy. Vote.
A vote would help.
X for Grackle Slug. Check for Neverlight Grove. Okay. Looks like Grackle Slug wins.
Damn it.
So, I mean, you can also still head to Neverlight Grove after Grackle Slug. You would be traveling
Yeah,
along the lake.
I was just being a contrarian anyway.
Ah, of course.
There's always one.
Mm-hmm.
So,
We do also need to figure out why the hell Sareth was making out with those fish.
Oh yeah,
Why don't you figure that out?
he's still unconscious.
he is still unconscious. He's also not healed. He has 1 hit point left. He is unconscious. You guys left him tied up in the net. So even if he regains consciousness, or sorry, regains full consciousness, I should say, he would.
Wasn't he semi-conscious but woozy and being carried?
Yes, Ront carried him
Okay.
to the boat, and he is
Good old
Good old Ront.
once you got him into the boat, he's fallen asleep for the time being. So we're going to move into the navigation of Darklake. Now, based on the characters that are left in the party, Ront, well, no, not Ront, Spiderbait, and yeah, Spiderbait basically is probably the only person left who knows the relative geography and layout of the Underdark. So he's going to be the person pretty much directing you to where to go along the lake, the general direction, and all of that. Um, and for the purposes of navigation, you guys are assumed to have a compass, and you know the approximate heading that you need to go. So over the course of Darklake, we might end up having some encounters that involve group checks. Group checks mean every single person in the party is going to make the check that I describe and try to beat the DC that I tell you to beat. If half of the party, rounded up, manages to succeed, then the group as a whole succeeds the check. And if
Okay.
not, then you fail. Okay?
Oh,
So, you guys have been set out for a ways, and let me check something. Perception. Oh, okay. As you guys are steering the boat, Melrath and Tazarath are doing most of the rowing due to their strength scores. Oh, no, I'm sorry. Azarath or Melrath and Fixer Upper, because they both have actually good strength scores. Tazarath
gee.
does have the third highest, which is 13.
Pathetic.
Yeah, a little bit. So, anyways, um, as you are paddling along in the water, the Fixer Upper is keeping a sharp eye out as he always does, and he looks down and he sees that there's some odd swirls to the water, and you're kind of going along and you keep seeing these and they're moving about, and so you decide to insert your oar into that area and just see if it's like a shallow part of the lake itself, lest you run aground. And when you run your oar into it, you disturb some sort of swarm that's in the water. They're these creatures where half of their body is their jaw, and they have massive conical teeth. They have kind of beady eyes that don't look very well adapted to seeing light. They probably use dark vision. And they also appear to be remarkably well armored. Like you can sort of hear the oar tink 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 off of them,
Hmm.
and they are swarming around the boat. So in the event that you guys get knocked over, you may suddenly find yourselves fighting off a swarm.
All right, who stuck their oar in the swarm? We should throw them overboard.
He was the one who spotted them. If you throw him overboard, you might not spot any other excellent threats.
Eh.
Okay. So as you guys are rowing along, you end up coming into some rapids, and you're very quickly swept into it. So the first thing that I'm going to need everybody to do is I want everyone to make a dexterity check. The number to beat is 13, and this is a group check.
I apologize in advance for letting you down.
Wow.
Oh no. Okay, so 9, 2, 11. Okay. All right. I need everybody to now attempt to make an individual either strength check or dex check, whichever is better for you, and you're trying to beat a DC of 10.
Womp womp.
No. Oh, okay. Right. It was 10. Yay.
Okay, so unfortunately, what ends up happening is you guys go into the currents. It catches you off guard, and you're shunted around very quickly over the falls. And unfortunately, there's a piece of rock jutting out, and the boat collides with it. And as part of the collision, everybody but Bob ends up being able to hang on to the boat. And because
Uh-huh.
you're able to hang on to the boat, you're able to keep it upright. Now Bob is thrown into the water, and
Uh-huh.
is now flailing about. Now, given the rough current, it's really difficult to see if the toothy fish that were following you are in the area. So I would say, how do we handle this? Oh, I know. Bob, make a Constitution saving throw.
Constitution saving.
Trying to beat a DC of 12. Perfect. So despite the rough currents, you're able to get a good solid breath, and you're bashed around a little bit. You end up taking 2 points of damage, which I will apply to you. There we go. You take 2 points of damage from being battered around on the rocks. Now, once you guys make it through that rough current, you're able to move the boat over to the direction where Bob is and help him back into the boat. You guys don't see any of the toothy fish, so it looks like you managed to evade that particular issue. And for a while, about the next 20 minutes, um,
I
oh,
just healed Bob, by the way.
perfect.
Yay, thank you.
You're welcome.
For the next 20 minutes or so, it's very uneventful. You are, steering and paddling along. There isn't too much of a current at this point, so you um, are left just kind of keeping a sharp eye out. It's quiet. You can hear water droplets periodically, and as you paddle up ahead, there's a kind of strange structure. Um, it looks a little bit like the falls that you saw before, um, but in your dark vision, as you get close enough, you're able to see that there are some very sharp outlines, very geometrical shapes, which don't look natural. Dark vision, as a reminder, is the equivalent of wandering around in your apartment with the lights off. You can sort of see the vague outlines of things, but you can't really get much in the way of detail. So if you want to examine, what it is, and it's very much in your way, you may need to light some torches to get some of the info you need, or
Or cast light.
yeah, light source. Are you prepared to light up?
Yeah.
Okay.
Let's light it up.
So the fixer-upper holds. Huh. Okay.
Neat. I say versus light.
I think that's for other people. Cast light upon them. But regardless, you have a mace, right?
Yes.
Do you have thing in particular you want to cast it on? Otherwise, I'll just assume it's the head of the mace.
Oh, yeah. Oh, do I have a mace? No, I'm still stuck with a stupid short sword. So let's use that.
Okay. You cast light over the blade and hold the sword aloft into the air. Um, it appears that up ahead of you is a construct of some sort. It's made out of stone. There are two rectangular slabs on either side, and there is some strange mechanism that stretches over between each of these slabs. There's some cranks and pulleys, and there also appear to be some uh, chains that go into the water. And you're not entirely sure what all of this is about. There's a place that you guys can kind of pull up the boat and hop onto the structure and take a look around. It appears to be deserted, and there's also no place for anything to hide on the surface of this. There could be stuff in the water, but not on top of the structure. So who's going to go investigate?
Ront.
Actually, when I say investigate, I very literally mean use your skill investigation to try to figure out what the hell this thing is.
Who has the highest investigation?
I'll use my
Oh,
completely average intelligence.
well, it looks like Melrath and Tazarath hop off, and the both of you wander around, and you actually manage to figure it out. This is a lock. It is a Daragar lock. And so it allows you to change water levels because now that you're on the lock and investigating around it, you can see that there's another section of Darklake below that is actually moderate enough distance that a lock is a valuable thing. It turns out from this vantage point that if you traveled either to the left or to the right a good distance, you would end up in some of those same rough currents. And the lock just like I said, it's a very simple mechanism. Now that you know what it is, you understand the principle. You are able to activate the lock. The boat is lowered down a good 40 feet to the next portion of Darklake. And once it is, uh, at the far end of the rectangular slab, there is a bronze ladder that stretches all the way down to a small platform where Melrath and Tazrath are able to reboard the boat and set you off into Darklake once more. So, um, as you proceed along, um, the fixer-upper, having been wary from earlier when you guys came across those fish, has started to notice that something new has taken interest in the boat. There are some very large manta ray-like creatures that are in the water. They have sharp hooks along the forefront of their wings. You can also see that the backside, the top that's facing up towards you, is pitch black, but on the underside, it is a bright white. So it it makes them stand out a bit as they sort of flap their wings against the surface, and they will occasionally sort of nudge the boat a little bit, but either they don't seem to be strong enough to knock it over themselves, or they're just curious and investigating. You're uncertain if these creatures are intelligent or not, but they are about the same size as any other manta ray, and if you've never encountered one in real life, they're pretty
I think
large.
I think it's time for a nature roll.
Sure. Nature. Give me a moment. There. Okay. Okay. That's good enough to figure out that these are, and I fucking hate that these little bitches. Okay. I'm gonna share a picture. This is the creature in question. It is an Ixitzachitlul. Ixitzachitlul.
Aztec fish.
Yeah, I was just going to say Aztec in nature.
Exactly. These are aquatic creatures resembling manta rays with small clawed hands at the end of their wings and black gleaming eyes with sinister intelligence. Many creatures will commonly mistake these for manta rays, but this can prove to be a deadly mistake. They are as evil as they are cunning, and leading
Hmm.
to the common nickname demon rays. They inhabit bodies of fresh and salt water alike, but their violent nature means that little else is known about them. Um, they often are in servitude to various demons, and they are particularly known to serve Demogorgon himself, whom they consider their patron and creator. They have an intense rivalry with Marrow, over which of them is the greatest and most favored servants of the Prince of Demons. Um, they are a little bit more intelligent than the average human. They have dark vision. Um, they can they have their own language, but they also speak Abyssal. Um, they are also particularly known for having a barbed tail, um, which acts very much like a spear at times. Um,
Hmm.
it also says here that they have a difficult time seeing outside of the water particularly well. So is that accurate? Yeah, yeah, yeah. So that's what you found. These things are circling your boat. There are about four of them, um, and yeah, yeah. So they're swimming about. As you continue paddling along, doing your best to sort of nudge them away from the boat gently, lest you cause them to go into some sort of crazed frenzy. Um, you're surprised to see that from out of the gloom and darkness arises a large island. And you didn't notice it from much of a distance, but now that you've gotten closer to it, the island comes out and it has a moderately steep appearance to it. It also has several or three large conical structures jetting out of it. And from those structures, you can see a light smoke being emitted. And there's a glow, a red glow, coming from inside of these chimneys, for lack of a better term. Um, Along the outside of these chimneys, there is a kind of orange-white plant life of some sort that is clinging to the sides of it, and there is there's a couple of areas on the island that are flat and wide enough that you might be able to take some time to rest. It's the first island that you've seen as such in Darklake that has enough space to fit all of you on it, and it juts fairly well enough out of the water that anything that is aquatic wouldn't be able to get at you from there.
My only issue with that is, can they get the boat while resting?
Well, once you land on the island, you can opt to pull the boat in out of the water, and then tie it to a nearby rock so that it won't slide or anything. So you can get it a good 4 or 5 feet out of the water.
Hmm.
Incidentally, the reason I told you not to level up is that in 5th edition, generally speaking, one is not supposed to level up until they have a long rest.
So you're saying we should take a long rest?
This would be an opportunity to take a long rest if you think it's safe.
Well, let's
It's
poke around then.
Okay. So the party steers the boat over in the direction of the island. You manage to pull up onto the lake, and it's actually a little bit difficult to get some footing here. Um, the island seems to be made of a combination of pumice stone and obsidian. And obsidian, of course, can be pretty slippery, especially when wet. Um, so there's little moments where you kind of slip for a second, never fall completely over or anything, but it makes moving around the island a little bit treacherous. Um, Once you get up onto the shore, you pull your boat out a good distance and tie it off to a pumice boulder, and you set out exploring the island. Are you guys going to go as one group? Do you want to split up? It's not super large. I would estimate that it's probably a diameter of 180 feet across.
If we're going to go as a group, we have to heal and wake up Sareth.
Why do you have to wake up Sarah?
Well, or we could just leave all the NPCs in with the boat, but
Okay. Um, right. So are you going as a group or splitting up? Because you can also split up and take some of the prisoners with one group and the other.
Prisoners?
The only
hmm.
prisoners that are left are Ront, Spiderbait, and Fargus. They're the only combatants that are available and left.
Um, well, I can heal Sarah.
Do you want to let him out of the net?
I was just offering to heal him, but I don't think we should let him out of the net personally.
Okay, that's
Yeah, I
fine.
mean,
I just want to check and make sure I
hon-
understand what's going on.
honestly, I'm fine with just leaving the NPC on the beach of the island, as it were.
Okay.
Yeah, there's not that many of them left anyway.
Okay. So the party is going to go as a whole and explore the island, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So you take time to walk around. You hold your sword aloft and shed some light so that you can get some detail. Um, Unfortunately, even the light doesn't help an awful lot. Although the reflection off the obsidian, while blinding, does give you a decent sense of the outline of the island. Um, as you're walking around, you're keeping a sharp eye out for either caches. Somebody might have stowed something away here, or more importantly, like a cave,
Mm.
or anything of that nature. The only thing that you find is on the opposite side of the island from where you landed. There's a small crater, and in that crater you can see a bubbling magma. There's a light bit of smoke coming off of it. It seems to actually be relatively calm. It churns a little bit so that the top doesn't form a skin like lava so frequently does. Um, but it's not like, splashing all over the place and making a ruckus. So uh, the crater itself is about 4 feet across. Um, and yeah, it smells a little bit, but other than that, it doesn't seem particularly noteworthy. You take a full circle around the island, and the only other thing that you find is west from where you entered, because you went counterclockwise. Um, on the west from where you entered, there is a space on the shore where there is a number of fish and other aquatic life form remains, like, crab shells and fish bones and things of that nature. So it seems something comes to this place to eat its meals, but you don't see any signs of a burrow or anything else. So you're guessing that it might be some sort of, amphibious creature, maybe. Unfortunately, as it goes, it's kind of difficult to tell from these bones how recently something has been here. Either the creature completely picks the bones clean when it's done with them, or it's been so long that any flesh has decayed off of them, and all you're left with are these dry white bones.
Hmm.
Aside from that, the final thing that you guys explore and locate is the chimneys themselves. You make your way up there and you take a look around, and there's a lichen that's growing along the outside of it. Um, it mostly seems to be very thick up near the top of the rim of the chimney, but the plant life seems to be fairly healthy and dense, even all the way down towards where the chimney juts out from the island itself. Um, so yeah, unless you guys want to roll a nature check, that's the last thing to explore on the island.
I
Okay.
think rolling a nature check is always.
Oh, excellent. Give me just a moment. These are. I think I went the wrong way. Maybe I went. Nope, I went the wrong way. Okay. These are fire lichen. Fire lichen thrives on warmth, so it grows in regions of geothermal heat. Fire lichen can be ground and fermented into a hot, spicy paste, which is served on spore bread or added to soups and stews to flavor them.
Yum.
Duragar also ferment fire lichen into a fiercely hot liquor. Um, so, as it currently stands, you guys could take some of this stuff with you and add it to your food supplies.
Or barterable goods, or both.
Yep. If you want it to be a barterable good, tell me and I'll add it to the inventory of the party separately. But if you want to add it as food, then it will just be considered part of your food stocks.
What do you guys
Um,
Let's do it.
do what?
Yeah, exactly. There were two options.
Can we do a little of both?
Yeah, sure. Here's the current state of affairs. When it comes to your food, you guys have about I want to say 10 days left of food for the party. Um, and actually, that is including the fact that you have less mouths to feed now.
I was just doing my job, guys. Calling the herd.
So you guys are a bit low. But at the same time, there's enough lichen here that if you turn all of it into food, you estimate, assuming of course that you eat nothing but the lichen, that you can add an additional 6 days worth of food. Obviously, if you want to do half and half and get it as a bundle, then you can do 3 days worth of food and some packets for bartering purposes.
Is there a chance to refill our food supplies in Grackle Slug?
Oh yes, absolutely. It's a major
Okay.
city.
Okay. I'm kind of leaning towards just making it food now.
let's do half and half. I think that was a good move.
Okay.
Here, how about I do this? Oops, that's not it.
I mean, Grackle Slug is not that far anymore, right?
The lake makes check if you want it to do half and half, X if you want to make it all food. That reminds me. That's not it.
Yeah, it looks like I'm. Ooh.
Sorry.
There we go.
Ooh.
Yeah. Okay, so we're gonna make it half and half. Oh wait, was it check makes? I've already fucked it up.
Yes.
Check makes
I
it
think-
all food.
Yeah, half and half.
Okay.
Oh wait.
Yeah, it was half and half.
Yeah.
And I will assign this to Snake.
I see.
Let me just.
You have made it. Red is a good. It is the color of red things.
Yeah.
This is for the fiery magma that you guys are
Mhm.
on. Yeah. So anyway,
Liquid hot magma.
you're not entirely sure how much this stuff goes for, so you're gonna estimate it's about 30 gold pieces, and Spiderbait confirms that that should be about right. People might barter you a bit lower, but you should be able to get about that for it.
Good job, Spiderbait. That's why I didn't incinerate you.
Oh boy.
All right, so I have assigned that to Snake, and so we've added that. So now the party has, I believe I said 10, so it should be 13 days of food.
Mhm.
Yeah. So we're going to use up one of those days of food right now, assuming the party is comfortable resting here.
Mhm.
Okay.
Works for me.
So everybody go ahead and level your character up to level 4. And I'm handling the rests right now. And then once I've finished that, long rest. Okay. All right, so here's what I'm going to do. Just as before, make a check mark when you are ready to continue.
Oh, we get our ability score. Nice.
Yeah.
I've been getting a lot of dex saves, so I'm going to use it both.
Oh, we get 2 points?
Here's how it works. When you
Okay.
get to distribute your points, you have three choices. Your first choice
Okay.
is you can forego the entire stat gain and gain a feat instead.
Hmm.
Option two is that you can add +1 to two different scores. And option three is you can add +2 to a single score.
Nice. All right. Cool.
How do you know how many points you get?
You get two.
Oh.
Yeah, 2 to 1 or 1 to 2 is what it comes down to.
Mhm.
Or you get a feat.
And so, just as a further reminder, when it comes to your ability scores, you only get the modifier bonus at even levels. So
Hmm.
odd levels don't do you any good. But if you had two odd scores, you could add +1 to each of them and then get a bonus modifier to each of those stats. But generally speaking, like I'm looking at Snake right now, if I was running Snake, I would almost certainly add +2 to Charisma to give him a +5, because that means that his spell save DC becomes 15, which is the highest that it can be.
Yeah, and since your character, Kyle, is like mine in the sense that it's a spellcaster. Yeah.
Yeah, and charisma is my
Mm-hmm. Just the same. Yep.
stat. Yeah.
So I would recommend doing what I'm going to do.
Now, the other thing that I can also throw out here is that there's at least two feats that are advantageous to casters. One of them is Warcaster. If you have spells that use concentration, it lets you take advantage on Constitution saving throws to maintain your concentration when you take damage. Um, you can also perform, well, this one's less useful. You can perform the movement components of spells even if you have weapons or a shield in one or both hands. Um, and if a hostile creature's movement provokes an opportunity attack from you, instead of using your melee attack, you can cast a spell at that creature instead. And
What
then
feat? What feat do you currently have? Because you should have a feat.
Who, me?
Yeah.
Infernal Constitution?
What does that do, Alex?
it is a tiefling specific feat. And actually, I'm gonna look it up
It
myself.
sounds like survivability.
Infernal Constitution. Wait, what? Did I have that wrong? I'm not seeing it in your list. Oh, there it is. It's up top. Okay. Fiendish Blood runs strong in you, unlocking a resilience. Your Constitution score is increased by 1 to a maximum of 20. You have resistance to cold and poison damage, and you have advantage on saving throws against being poisoned.
Neat.
Yeah.
There's also another one, Flames of Flithidabos.
Flegos.
Yeah.
You can increase your intelligence or charisma by 1. When you roll fire damage for a spell, you can re-roll any ones, but you must use the new roll even if it is another 1. Whenever you cast a spell that deals fire damage, you can cause its flames to wreathe you until the end of your next turn. The flames don't harm you or your possessions, and they shed a bright light out to 30 feet and a dim light for an additional 30 feet. While the flames are present, any creature within 5 feet of you that hits you with a melee attack takes 1d4 fire damage.
Does that sound useful at all?
I think charisma bonus is better personally.
There's one last. Actually, I'm sorry. There's two last things. One of them is Spell Sniper. When you cast a spell that requires you to make an attack roll, that spell's range is doubled. Your range spell attacks ignore half and 3/4 cover. You learn one cantrip that requires an attack roll. You can choose that cantrip from any spell list, and its spellcasting ability depends on the list that you choose, like Charisma for Bard, Sorcerer, Warlock, Wisdom for a Cleric or Druid, or Intelligence for Wizard.
Now, are you gonna give us bonuses to feats like you did in the last game? Is that a
Bonuses to
possibility?
feats?
Where if we had inspiration when we collected it, like I think Serlin got to do that.
Oh,
Oh,
that's
yeah.
right. I had completely forgotten about that system. We can just start now. Because it's going to be a long campaign. You should have an opportunity to do that at least once.
So, given that, Kyle, my suggestion is go with the stats because you'll be more limited in getting stats than feats.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay.
I don't mean to steal your thunder, Alex. I just
No, it's fine.
thought I'd bring that up.
There
How
was
do you
one-
add?
If you just click in the stat and then just type. It should work that way.
Oh, okay. Cool.
Just my impression of a warlock, because I played a warlock in the first game, is that you really want to have the primary stat as a caster. So
Okay. Appreciate the help.
sure.
Is there anything else we get?
I'll check. No, level 4 is just an ability score improvement. However, I'm also checking. At level 4, you learn another cantrip, Kyle.
Nice.
Let me expand that out. So you learn another cantrip. Your spells known increases to 5, so you get to grab one more spell from either first or second level.
Okay.
So that's for you. Does anybody else need to know for their class?
Nah,
Yeah,
mine
if
doesn't change.
if you could check
Cleric?
cleric, yeah, I'd appreciate that.
Okay. Scrolling down.
Because I'm checking sorcerer.
Wait, what? Yeah, sure enough. That's weird. Why is it showing like that?
In what direction did you guys go? Did you get stats as well? I'm just curious.
Yeah. I tried to ameliorate my abysmal dex score.
What about you, Eric?
I want pure strength.
Same.
Yeah.
I think I'm gonna have to grab the actual PHB, but as near as I can tell, you get one cantrip. And
Okay.
I think that you get something else as far as let's see, Prince's Tomb, Player's Handbook. I think that there's supposed to be like one additional per day spell thingy.
There is another second level spell slot.
How are you seeing that?
It's in the classes thing.
Yeah, I'm looking at the classes, and all I see is cantrips, features, and proficiency. Okay, you get an additional second level spell slot,
Okay.
and so you can have one more second level spell. And then I'm gonna look up sorcerer since I'm in here. Rogue, wizard.
Yeah, that increased from 2 to 3. Correct.
Yes.
And then you said one extra cantrip.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And then for your Yuan-Ti, he gets an additional cantrip,
Okay.
and he gets a additional second level spell slot.
Nice.
But that should have already been added for you. You just have to make sure that you add an extra spell in there as well.
An extra cantrip, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Extra spell, extra cantrip for both characters.
Oh, so you get an extra second level spell, not just a spell slot.
Well, yes. You're
Okay.
supposed, but part of the reason I hesitated is if there's a first level spell that you really like, you can get that. You don't have to take second level.
I see. Okay. Thanks for the info.
No problem. Oh, heavens.
Oh, I guess Sarath should be back up to full as well.
Oh, yeah. There we go.
There are a lot of spells to go through. Jeez.
Were there ever?
And one of us already has Toll the Dead. Is that you, Kyle?
Yes.
Okay, then I won't get that.
That is so weird. Why can't I find it?
Now, I would imagine that you would recommend Hold Person amongst my list, Alex.
I always recommend hold person.
Okay,
Yeah. You just have
sounds
to be
wise.
smart about who you're using it against.
Oh, because it's a wisdom save. I see.
Right. So I
So
generally recommend like maybe don't use it against casters, but generally use it
Hmm.
against any strength-based enemy.
Okay, will do.
Ah, I finally found it. There's one last feat that is worth mentioning as far as any spellcaster goes. Elemental Adept. When you gain the feat, you choose a damage type, and then spells you cast ignore resistance to the damage type. And in addition, when you roll damage, if you roll a 1, it's treated as a 2. That one has been particularly good for any non-cleric spellcaster.
Yeah, I took it as a sorcerer when you gave us the first feat,
Oh, excellent.
and I picked fire naturally.
A wise choice. Fire
Yeah,
has a
because
lot of things resistant to it.
right.
Why do I have 2? Huh?
Do you like Shocking Grasp in this edition? Because I know it used to be really powerful.
I have mixed feelings about it, and part of the reason I do is because, on the one hand, in previous editions, it mattered more to be kind of a jack of all trades, to have some utility balanced with some offense. But in this edition, it doesn't seem to come up as much. Like, I always say, oh, well, if you're in melee range with an enemy, having something that you can actually cast at melee range is like really good to have. But at
Hmm.
the same time, no matter how much I try, like as the DM, I can't seem to get too many enemies unless they teleport directly into melee range with casters. Like players usually do a good job of walling off and punishing enemies that try to break through. So, Shocking Grasp is a good spell at its base, but you just won't cast it very frequently.
Okay. Do you prefer Thunderclap?
If I if I remember
Thunderclap?
correctly,
Yeah.
Thunderclap, uh, you choose an adjacent square and then you make a 15-foot cube, and that's the area that's affected by it, or is it the one that's centered on you?
Um, each creature within range, other than you, and the range is 5 feet. Oh,
Oh,
okay.
okay. So it's centered on you, and it's just each adjacent square.
Yeah, all right. I thought it was bigger than that. Yeah, I'll go with Shocking Grasp, Ben. Thanks for the advice.
No problem.
Now I just have to pick my second level spell, and I'll be ready.
Okay.
I like that there's a cantrip called Friends.
Friends.
I have never seen anybody pick that spell. And if I remember correctly, and I'm just curious now. Yeah, the problem is that when the spell ends, the creature realizes that you use magic to influence its mood and may become hostile, and becomes hostile towards you.
Ooh.
A creature prone to violence might attack you. Another creature might seek retribution in other ways, depending on the nature of your interactions with it. So it's like, for one interaction, it is friendly, and then afterwards you have to deal with its wrath. And like, I guess if you can get away fast enough, that doesn't really matter. But like, if you cast it on the town mayor, then you've really put yourself up shit's creek. So
So no one told you life was gonna be this way. Couldn't resist.
Do you recommend web as like a crowd control spell?
uh, I actually haven't looked it up. Let me take a quick look.
That's a good question.
Okay. So first of all, unlike Grease from the previous editions, you can actually set this web on fire.
Nice. And you know I like to do that.
Yes, it's a good combo. It only does 2d4 fire damage, so it's not a ton. But if it's used up its usefulness. The real advantage to this is twofold. A, you can use it like if you guys are falling and cast it below you, and it can form a net to safely catch you.
Oh, okay.
But in addition, uh, this spell sets it up so that the area is a 20-foot cube, and then each creature that starts its turn in the webs or enters them during its turn must make a dex saving throw. On a failed save, the creature is restrained, and it remains in the webs for as long as it remains in the webs or until it breaks free. Creature that is restrained can use a strength check against your spell save DC. If it succeeds, it's no longer restrained. But doing that save is its entire turn.
Hmm. And
So,
then don't they get like a minus to defense? I would imagine.
the restrained condition.
Right.
Click here. Scrolling. A restrained creature's speed becomes 0 and it can't benefit from any bonus to its speed. Attack rolls against the creature have advantage, and the creature's attack rolls have disadvantage. The creature has
Okay.
disadvantage on dexterity saving throws, such as against Fireball.
So okay, now it makes sense. It's all for setting people up for my fireball trap.
The only minor downside to this spell is in the event that you come across any spiders, they will not be affected by this spell. They're just an exception to it.
Hmm.
That's the only time that it will be helpful.
It just seemed like we were kind of low on crowd control.
Yeah.
We kind
This will affect your allies, though. So, if anybody thinks that they're just gonna run right through,
Well, catching Ront in a web is better than me incinerating 3 of our allies. So
that's
I'm
true.
getting better. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, I'll take that. Thanks for the advice.
of course, watch us use this and run into happy, friendly spiders or something.
Yeah, right in the Underdark. Uh-huh. You've been having too much of the fire lichen.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that is a downside because there will be a fair number of them. But
Yeah,
I don't see any other crowd control spells, so.
not
No.
at that level, no.
No, it's probably one of the best.
It-
One of
Okay.
the best ones available.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, how many spiders have you guys fought so far?
Just at the beginning when we had to scurry away from.
Yeah.
We
So
did light a
anyways,
few more on fire, but then we didn't take that path.
So everybody all set? Yes.
Mhm.
Marvelous. So the next morning, everybody awakens. Sareth is still bound up in the nets, but he seems to be lucid at this point. Do you guys want to take a moment to interrogate him?
Yeah, let's figure out what the hell that weird tentacle nonsense was.
I did get a spell called Detect Thoughts if we need it. But
Oh, nice.
Actually, is that relevant here?
I would think.
it says you can read the thoughts of certain creatures.
All right. Detect thoughts.
It depends on if he's thinking about it.
Okay. I'm taking a quick scan through this. Mhm. Okay.
I say we talk to him first and then see what we find out.
So the third paragraph here is very relevant. Questions verbally directed at the target creature naturally shape the course of its thoughts, so the spell is particularly effective as a part of interrogation.
Hmm.
You can also use this spell to detect the presence of thinking creatures you can't see. When you cast a spell, blah, 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 blah. So the point here is you would learn initial surface thoughts. Now, surface thoughts can be things such as, a concept or emotion. If you choose to probe deeper, only at that point would Sereth become aware that you were attempting to read his thoughts. You could, because this thing has a range of self, you could cast it out of view from him and then walk into the area and you would be able to assist in the interrogation in that way.
But only if you don't probe too deeply.
Well, if you probe too deeply, he has
Giggity.
to make
Only if he's not the one asking the questions.
No. This is an aspect of the spell itself. When it says probe more deeply, what you gain is insight into its reasoning, if any, its emotional state, and something that looms large in its mind, such as something it worries over, loves, or hates.
Hmm.
In the event that it succeeds, the spells uh, instantly ends, and either way, the target knows that you're probing into its mind. So yeah, if you think that it's necessary to probe deeper, you can. He'll be aware that you did that, and he may have thoughts and feelings on that, which you would become aware of.
Hmm.
Mm.
But these surface thoughts could also let you know if he maybe is being deceptive. So, what will you do?
Given my +5 to intimidate, I think it's good cop, bad cop routine.
Spell?
What spell?
No. Why don't you just try to intimidate first, and if we don't get anywhere, I can cast the spell.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, Chris, you're on board. Do it.
So, we need to have a talk about what exactly you were doing back in Sloobaloo. I can't bloody pronounce those fish people.
Well, I unfortunately don't think that I can really help you because I don't remember much of the battle past the very beginning. By the time that I started running
Try.
towards the boat, I suddenly went unconscious, and the next thing I remember, I was awake and in some sort of net, and Ront was dragging me back to the boat. That's it.
And perhaps let me jog your memory. You were bitten by either topsy or turvy. I can't remember, and it hardly matters now. Right after that, you began convulsing, emitting some sort of red tentacles, I think it was, from your mouth. I couldn't tell. I was trying to defend myself. And you began making out with one of those fish people.
Okay, so at this point, you don't need detect thoughts. He instantly recoils at the thought of having made out with a Kuatoa. Like it is written all over his face. I did no such thing. And wait a minute. What bite? Why would they bite us? Why aren't they here?
Both of them were were-rats, and we didn't know. I certainly didn't. I can't speak for the rest of you.
There
And
were were and they
Farkas and
bit
I,
me? Well, did I transform?
one of no, that's the strange part, and I'm quite thankful for that. That's the other reason you're still restrained.
Well, he starts kind of wriggling around in the net a little bit. Where do they bite me?
I wasn't watching. Who caught that?
I don't
Okay.
remember.
If you guys want, you
Rest.
can get close enough and sort of inspect him for bite wounds. If you can find the bite wound and it looks particularly bad, he may have lycanthropy. Does anybody want to get close enough to check it out?
Sure.
Okay.
I believe that's a medicine check, right?
In this particular case, I'm just gonna say that a visual inspection will do. Um, so Melrath kind of turns him over a little bit. You know, pull your hand back a time or two because the net cuts you a little bit. Not enough for you to actually take damage. Just it's sharp and pointy. Eventually, you are able to find an area that looks like the two protruding foreteeth of the were-rat, but it looks like it mostly was a surface gash, and the wound is largely healed over thanks to the fixer-upper's spell earlier, plus a little bit of extra time to rest. The wound doesn't look particularly bad, and as far as you guys know, um, you you don't believe that he caught lycanthropy because everybody else transformed immediately.
Hmm. Um, can the fixer-upper try detect magic on him?
Yes, detect magic would not reveal the presence of lycanthropy, though.
But just right, okay. Dissociating that, but anything else? Because I'm kind of wondering if he's under some sort of spell.
Oh, okay, yeah, sure. Feel free to go ahead. Well, we'll go ahead and cast a spell. I'm gonna look something up real quick.
All right, I crossed off my slot.
Okay. So you wave your hands and speak the words of power that allow you to see into the weave. Sereth lights up with magical radiance. Now, this is not this is not unusual for him. Drow have innate spellcasting, and so they register as more magical than most other creatures. However, because you've cast Detect Magic in the presence of Sereth before, you are largely familiar with how he appeared before um, the most recent battle. And there is a change in the structure of the magic around him. Um, Around his head, near his temples, there is some sort of veiny, red, pulsing magic that has appeared. It was not present when you last cast the spell. Um, Inspecting that site on his head, it looks like he had a wound there, but it was healed up. And aside from that, it just looks like it's been a bit scarred. Um, and that's all you can
Hmm.
tell from inspecting it.
Hmm.
Where did you get this?
Well, I don't know. I don't remember it being there prior to the battle. Was I hit by anyone?
I honestly don't recall.
He was actually hit by two different Kuatoa with spears. He got kind of unlucky, and that's part of the reason he went down in the first place.
Okay.
So clearly, there's something going on.
Yeah, but it is not apparent at the moment what exactly that is.
Right.
Oh,
So the good news is we don't think you were afflicted with lycanthropy, which is quite positive. The downside, there may have been some sort of a change that happened to you during the battle because of the attacks upon you. And I do not know what that is, and uh, I'm honestly not sure. I've
I think we need to keep him restrained until we can get, someone higher spellcaster than me that can, maybe remove curse or whatever the hell it is, to spell magic. I don't know, but I don't have anything to get rid of it.
well, I understand your intent on precaution, but the practicality of the situation also means that there is some additional things that need to be considered, such as how exactly you guys are going to be transporting him around. Because
Mm.
if you have a humanoid, a drow nonetheless, caught in a hooked net and
Yeah.
restrained, that looks suspicious. It
Well,
is
I
noteworthy.
only meant until we got to the city, but
Yes, but even so, you do eventually have to lift him over your head and take him somewhere and stuff like that. So,
sure.
um, it sounds like though you'll keep him restrained in the boat. Once you make it to Grackleslug, you'll let him out if he's behaving normally. Yes.
Yeah,
I, I'm
and
honestly fine with letting him out now with the pointed remark that if he gets out of hand, I'll slay him myself.
well,
Okay.
but why though? I mean, we can keep him restrained at least till we're the city.
I don't want to make him causing tentacles.
So, hmm. One of the other things that I want to make you guys aware of, and I think if you'll give me a mere moment, because of the next place that we're going to, I actually prepared a little primer on the city itself so you guys could have some context for where it was that you actually were headed.
Mhm.
And if you'll give me, is it here? No. Is it that one? No. Is it campaign? No. Is it? Here it is. I found it. I have this as a Google Doc, which is not helpful for anybody else, but anybody else watching, I mean. But copy the link. I'm going to put this in the group chat, and if you guys could pull it open, you can review this and ask any questions. I wrote this myself based on information in the book, so I could pick and choose what I thought was relevant and useful. If you want, I can go over it, or we can just move on. And when I say go over it, I'll go up to noteworthy people or factions.
Darrow caught committing any crime can be executed on the spot by any Durgar present. Well, I guess I'm sort of glad Bupito's dead.
He was Derogar.
Tries to open a furniture business.
Oh God, yes. So one of the last things that I want to mention while you guys are reviewing this is that Drow, because they have a tendency to enslave just about anybody that enters. That's weird. Why are all your hit points and hit dice low? It's probably because I should have let you level up first and then rested. I'll just do the rest now so it's restored. Test this out. So this is Bob. No, Tazarath. That's weird.
It's 34 out of 34 for me.
Yeah, it just shows up incorrectly on the party sheet.
What?
Whatever, it's fine. So yeah. Anyways, Drow are particularly unwelcome, and they're unwelcome because they have a tendency to enslave Derogar. The Derogar do allow Drow into their cities for trading and exchange and stuff like that, but they view all of them with absolute suspicion, and they're generally very very much watched, just as everybody else is. But they brook less infraction from Drow outsiders. Drow have to behave with great care, shall we say. So Sereth is a little bit nervous that the location that they're headed to is Gracklslug, and further nervous because now he seems to find himself in a situation where the party doesn't trust him, and he behaves as if he does not know why. And so as a result, he isn't sure, just how his future is going to go for the next couple of days. So, if you
I'll
guys
point
haven't
out,
Hmm?
I'll point out that the whole lot of you did wind up saving the lives of both Tazarath and Farkas. So, Tazarath honors his debts, but
Okay.
only to the point that his overall safety is not compromised.
Okay. So, Sarth will remain restrained for the time being, and the party sets off once more onto the Darklake. Now, at this point, the Aztec manta rays are no longer present. They seem to have left at some point during the night, got bored when nobody came too close enough to the water. So, you set out from the island that you had found yourself upon, and you find your way into another sudden rough current. So I need everybody to make dexterity saving checks again.
Can you choose strength, or is it only dexterity?
For this one, it's only dexterity.
Come on, better roll.
If you guys fail, then strength will come into play.
I see.
Oh, Christ.
Wait, is it a check or a save?
Check. But I'm
Sorry.
gonna use. It's okay. I'm just gonna use it.
Oh, good.
Nice one, Chazarath.
He's lucky it wasn't worse than that. He had -1 before the level up. So, anyways, you guys actually managed to navigate the currents well this time, and it's a good thing too, because at the end of the currents, you end up digging in an oar into the water, and at the last moment, turn the raft with the current, and manage to avoid being run aground.
Hmm.
Which would have left you in a pretty unfortunate situation given the speed of the current and trying to get it off while maintaining your footing. So with that out of the way, you guys breathe heavily and continue off into the darkness. And there's lots of instances where stalagmites or boulders stick out of the ground, or sorry, not out of the ground, out of the surface of Darklake, and most of them are barely large enough for a single humanoid to stand on. They're all over
Hmm.
the place. They're not exactly hazards because you can see them. But as you guys are rowing about, the fixer-upper spots a humanoid shape, and at first you think that it's one of these boulder islands, and then you realize that it's actually part of a much larger island as it comes into the range of your dark vision. Okay? So you you see the humanoid figure and it's facing you and it starts waving one hand slowly. Do you want to go investigate?
That's not creepy as hell.
I think it's perception time.
You would need to light in order to get much information about it because dark vision just isn't good enough.
All right, I light.
Okay. Um, Now, light only has a range of what? I want to make sure that I know what the range is because it matters for the purposes of you guys knowing how close you have to get to investigate.
Eh,
Okay, so
Take one of my
you can
light
get
it and
within 40 feet. You'll be able to see some detail on the creature. Is that okay?
okay.
Okay.
you,
Um, hmm, Chris?
I was saying you could take one of my javelins, light it, and have Melrath or somebody chuck it.
Yeah, let's light up a
That's not a
javelin.
hostile act.
Yeah, exactly. There is only one other thing that I want to add, which is that I believe, and I'm going to double check on this, Dawnbringer. Uh, Dawnbringer's Dawnbringer actually has less. Wait, no, maximum of 30
Yeah,
feet. So he can use Dawnbringer to shed light in a greater distance than the light spell itself.
Oh, okay.
But it is also sunlight, so if the creature is, weak or resistant, or sorry, weak to it or vulnerable to sunlight, that might also cause it to go hostile. So what will you do?
Um,
Light spell or Dawnbringer?
Mr. Dawnbringer, what do you think?
I prefer the light spell.
Okay.
Fair enough. Um, the fixer-upper, I suppose, casts light once again on his short sword and holds it aloft as the party slowly rows to get within range of the shore. And when you get there, there is a woman. She's clad in wet rags. She has green skin, long white hair that flows almost all the way down to her calves. She has a crooked nose. Um, her skin has a very wet, clammy sheen to it, even in this dim light. And she stares at you with two ice cold blue eyes. Um, and she uh, she smirks at you. Oh, not too many dare come close to Nanny Plunk's island. As you can see behind her, she's on a very rocky island. There's a cavern space behind her. The island is even larger than the one that you had found earlier with the geothermal vents. You see that this one is probably a good 300 feet in diameter,
Hmm.
and that the cavern that she stands at the mouth of goes in a fair distance. And once you get within 40 feet, you can actually see that there's a kind of dim green glow coming from inside of the cavern itself. So it's likely that she has some sort of home set up inside of there. Well, Ho travelers, I don't suppose you might be in need of directions somewhere.
Are we in need of directions?
You have a pretty decent sense of where you're going, but I'll get to that in a second, Chris. Um, you have a decent sense of where you're going, but if you got directions from her, she might be able to warn you about other rough currents,
Hmm.
whether there are any locks that might make passage easier, any hazards in the area.
Hmm.
And so, yeah, but I see that several people have rolled insight. I need to roll deception. Not saying she's being deceptive, but that's how the rules go. I'm required to roll. I know what her score is. Anyways, does anybody else want to roll insight?
Got to beat a
Sure.
14 or not.
I just
Oh,
don't want somebody to roll after I start. Okay, so we get a bunch of 14s. So, um, the limited impression that you get from Nanny Plunk is that she she seems like she has a bit of, I want to say, avarice or greed to her at the moment. Like she's looking forward to the opportunity to kind of sell you guys on whatever information um, she might have. Um, Although what exactly this strange woman wants is another question entirely.
Hmm.
I mean, you can always sail away right now if you care to.
So she's a strange green woman living on the rags.
Yeah, can we try to identify who she is with like
Um,
nature?
why don't you roll Arcana?
Oh, okay. Ugh.
Bob gets a 16. That's good enough.
Okay, good.
Then allow me to share this picture.
All right, I want to leave.
This is a green hag. The wretched and hateful green hags dwell in dying forests, lonely swamps, misty moors, making their homes in caves. Green hags love to manipulate other creatures into doing their bidding, masking their intentions behind layers and layers of deception. They lure victims to them by mimicking voices calling out for help, or drive unwanted visitors away by imitating the cries of fierce beasts.
and is this exactly what Nanny Plunk looks like?
Minus the basket and the heart.
Mm.
The only other
You're greedier than she is. That's nice.
There's only one other thing, or two other things worth mentioning about green hags, as short of their stats. Green hags revel in the failings and tragedies of other creatures. They derive joy from bringing other people low and seeing hope turn to despair, not just for individuals, but also for whole nations. A green
Wow.
hag can be part of a coven. Covens consist of exactly three hags. In the event that more than three come together, it inevitably results in bickering, chaos, and usually the death of one or more hags.
A
However,
hag off.
they do, however, work very well in a triad, because if two hags disagree, the third hag resolves all disputes, and that seems to work just well enough for them to cooperate as a group. Um, it is also worth noting that these hags can breathe air and water. They have some innate spell casting, although you're not quite sure what those abilities might be. And she's speaking to you in common at the moment, so she knows your language. Um, and there you go.
Yeah, I say we run or
Okay,
swim.
so everybody turns to leave. Now wait, I haven't done a single thing wrong. I offered information about the area, and if you could offer up a fair price, you don't even have to come to the island. You can leave it in the water, and I'll pick it up once you're gone.
Uh,
How much?
Well, I happen to have an affinity for gems. Do you have any gems on you?
do we? We do.
That's a
If
good
I
question.
Let me check the inventory.
I think I got most.
There's an Azurite gem on Melrath. I'm looking for other gems. There is a Carnelian gemstone on Bob.
Oh, I think we spent that a long time ago, though.
Oh,
Was that never?
then let me remove it.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure we did.
You're gonna have to remove it from your own character sheet. It seems. I
Okay.
can't do it from here.
Ringik had one, but he's long since died.
Okay.
Should have taken it off his corpse during the incineration.
Yeah, and the plunge into the darkness.
Oh yeah, right.
You could use your filter of love on her.
Oh yeah.
Then she would be absolutely enthralled to your cause and be very helpful indeed.
How do we get her to drink it?
I think you can just throw it at her. I'll double check though.
Hey, come here! I gotta throw something at you.
No, you get up onto the island. Well, we should shake your hand and then you throw it in her face. And the best part is because it's a filter of love, she won't even be mad about it.
I think I would use that on
You're gonna
something a
have
little
a
more
girlfriend.
attractive personally, but
Yeah, because then her sisters will come out and.
Well, the answer to that is the next time you see a creature within 10 minutes after drinking this filter, you become charmed by that creature for 1 hour. If the creature is of a species and gender that you are normally attracted to, you regard it as your true love while charmed. So, yeah, she would do anything for her true love.
Anything.
Yeah, anything.
there goes my dinner. Ugh.
I see the warlock has transmuted into the party bard. Anyways, I just thought I'd throw that in there because,
Thanks.
yeah. Oh, you also have an onyx ring. That's the last object that I saw.
Oh, okay. So we do have two.
Yeah, two different things. The Azurite gem and the onyx ring. The Azurite gem is worth less. Oh, and a zircon.
Zircon.
I think the zircon and the Azurite are worth about the same. The onyx ring is worth more.
Mm-hmm.
So, what will you do?
Well, I don't see the harm. I mean, we have lots of wealth. Would it really be a killer to give up a little bit of it for information?
I'm still of the mind that we should just. But,
I'm going to assume that you said leave. You cut out a little bit there.
well, I said bail, but yeah.
Okay.
All right. Well, that's fine.
Do you want to take it to a vote, or do you just want to leave?
Well, I know Kyle and Chris are strongly against it, so.
Okay, good enough for me. The party, simply waves to the hag and then continues off into the distance, dousing a short sword.
Bye.
So, as you guys continue off, you're going through various channels, portions of the Darklake, and Fixer Upper, there's something odd about the way the landscape is between these two rocks. It kind of looks at times like there is a solid wall there, and then at other times it looks like there's a passageway and no wall at all.
Hmm.
Your high perception allowed you to pick up on this. What do you want to do?
Is that a there or not?
I
Because
don't know. I couldn't hear you.
There was a spell back in 2nd edition called There Not There, which is absolutely insane, and I'll just say that.
Okay. That spell does not exist in this edition, but anyways, do you want to go investigate? Do you want to leave it alone?
Can we send a mage hand through it?
Oh, that's a fair point. Yeah. So, the cleric points it out. Now, to every other person in the party, this appears to be a solid wall, but the fixer-upper is very insistent that there's something odd about it. And so, I think it's Bob. Bob has mage hand, so he waves his hands back and forth, chanting until 2 hands become 3, and he sends his spectral hand off into the distance.
My special
Special head.
Spectral.
Oh. I heard special.
Yeah.
Let me use my good hand. It's so much stronger.
The spectral hand flies off into the distance, and you send it to press up against the cave wall, only to find that it passes directly through. And upon doing so, every person in the party simultaneously recognizes it's an illusion. And while you can still see the image that is projected there, it appears transparent. So now that everyone recognizes it to be the minor illusion that it is, no one is any tricked by it any further.
Hmm.
Can I keep that hand on me?
Yeah, you can recall it. Give it an oar. Why not?
he'll just come rest on my shoulder or
Yeah,
my head.
shoulder. Let's keep it.
Shoulder.
Thank you.
The hag casted that because she wanted to ensnare us in love.
With a cave wall? Genius.
Yes, she wanted us to be deserted. It'd be like Misery or something. We'd be trapped there, and she'd come in. And
Well, actually, assuming that it is in fact the hag, and it could be, it looks as if this passageway was trying to be sealed off as an option for you. And so, should you, it looks like you can continue along your current passage with no issue, or you could try to go down the once illusory passage.
Well, I've got an extra hand, so we should be protected.
I kind of want to investigate. I don't.
That's kind of what I'm leaning towards.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right,
Why
that's
not?
3. That means Melrath is out on his own. So the party, discusses it for a moment, and you start paddling through. You make it past the illusion, and on the other side you can't even see it. And so this particular set of passageways seems like the other one, as far as you can tell. And you are traveling along, and all of a sudden, the current picks up a bit. It's not the same rough currents that you've seen before, but it picks up a bit because up ahead there is a tight gap within the cave wall, and you're caught up within it as soon as you become aware that the current has picked up. So at this point, all you're left with is trying to maneuver your boat through this exceptionally tight passage. So I need everybody to roll a DC 12 dexterity check to navigate the boat through it.
God damn it.
Okay, well, I can tell you right now that the party has unfortunately failed. So the end result is that the boat gets stuck. And at this point, the only way that you're going to get it free is with a successful group strength check athletics against a DC of 14.
Ooh.
What does athletics mean?
Athletics
It's a skill.
skill.
Oh, okay. Holy crap. That was a decent roll.
Oh. All right. Well,
At least the group succeeded. Where?
Did it?
3-2.
Oh yeah, 3. Yeah. Okay. So fortunately, Melrath, Snake, and Bob are all able to summon, sufficient strength to push and maneuver and finally free the boat, and it sort of pops out the other side. And once it comes out to the other side, you come to another section of Darklake. It looks the same as most of what else you've come across. The water is dark and oily, and there's still the water dripping. As you continue along, there is a series of boulders that are forming minor channels that you're maneuvering between. They're pretty wide. You're not feeling like truly trapped. It's just you can't get your boat over them.
Hmm.
But up ahead, there is a Y-shaped passageway, and ahead of you is a passageway to the left and a passageway to the right. And at this moment, um, some creatures start skittering around on the ceiling. And you presume that they're disturbed by your entrance into the cave, and suddenly loose rocks fall from the ceiling above. I'd like everyone to make Dex saving throws against a DC of 12. Saving throws, not checks.
So much Dex.
I know. So
Oh, I did well.
excellent. The result of the group Dex check, or save, I should say, is that you manage to, plant your oar and swing the boat around it, and the left passageway in the Y ends up getting cut off. And
Mhm.
the rocks crash down, and had they crashed down upon you, either they would have badly damaged the party, or they likely would have damaged the boat and possibly even destroyed it given the size of those rocks. But that passageway is cut off, and you can hear the creature skittering around over the top of it still, so it's probably best to maybe leave that alone. So you sheer off to the right, and a good, 3 or 4 hours later, you're following along this channel, and the channel continues onward, but you've come to another island. And this island is kind of noteworthy. It's like the other one in the sense that it comes up and is conical, sort of like a mini volcano, except there's no magma at the top of this one. In fact, there must be a body of water up near the top center of the island, because there is a dull blue light shining up through it and casting those watery reflections on the ceiling. And it actually really stands out. You haven't seen an awful lot of light emitting things down here.
Hmm.
And yeah, there's
A blue light, you say?
well, and as you guys pull closer, because you have to go past it even just to continue down the passageway, there's some steps made into the side of this thing leading up towards the rim.
Awesome. But I was saying a blue light, and the screen's got
Oh,
a red switch to.
there you go.
Yeah.
I forgot I
Yay.
needed to switch it.
Ah, wow, that's really blue.
Yay.
Yeah, I actually only have so many colors. It's like that or this.
All right, well, that's softer.
Yeah.
Oh, well.
It's supposed to be a forest.
Uh, okay.
Anyways, does the party want to investigate or should you move on?
I say let's go up the steps.
Let's check it out.
Marvelous. So once you guys land on the side, you pull your boat up out of the water. You secure it to one of the many rocks that lie around, and you start to go up these stairs, and there is these iron spikes that are stuck into the ground, and they have a loop at the top of them. You can see that in some of the loops there is an old piece of rope, and the rope stretches between a couple of them, but it breaks periodically. This is a very old structure. Like these iron spikes have quite a bit of rust to them. They seem that they've been here for a great time. You make your way up the stairs. They are a bit slick with water, but somebody took the time to painstakingly carve little divots into them, which allow you to get the kind of footing that you would need to make it up a slippery set of stairs. Once you make it all the way up to the top, you are confronted with a large pool, exactly as you expected. There is a platform, almost like a dock, which lowers down to what we might recognize as a diver's platform, metal
Mhm.
grate that is about 2 or 3 inches below the surface, where one could prepare to jump in further. And once you make it all the way up to the top, um, you see that the water in here is exceptionally clear, which makes it immediately stand out from the rest of Darklake. All that water is sludgy, it's black, it's oily, and even with light, you can't see very well past the surface. But with this, it's crystal clear. And down into it, you can see that there's some aquatic plant life. There are some small eyeless fishes that don't appear to be particularly dangerous. But the most noteworthy thing is that there is a statue sunk all the way down at the bottom, and it seems to be of some hero or villain, perhaps. It's a little unclear from the way that this whole thing is laid out. Um, and the statue has two eyes, which are very large black pearls, bigger than your fist,
Hmm.
and they look very valuable because they look like they're perfect.
We
Um,
should probably take them.
well, you'd have to swim down.
Let's get the fish first.
It's a good 20 feet down to the bottom. The crater here is an almost perfect cone. Okay, so the statue is lodged up against one wall, facing up towards the docks, and yeah, but because it's yeah, so that's the situation that you're presented with.
I get the feeling once we take those pearls that something's going to come alive, though.
Hmm.
Isn't that how it always happens?
Let's catch the fish first, just
Do
to
do you want to swim
to
around and catch the fish?
well, let's test the water first. But
Okay. Um. Hmm.
Can I stick my special hand in it?
You can indeed stick your special hand in the water. Uh,
Would it react the same way as a normal hand?
More or less. I mean, the hand is a physical object. It's made out of force.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So you're gonna dip your special hand into the water, eh?
Sure.
Marvelous.
See if anything eats it.
Um, at this point, the surface of the lake is perfectly still because, of course, there's no wind down here. But when your hand presses against the surface of the lake, you feel a little bit of resistance, almost like it's jello. And then all of a
Hmm.
sudden, the water ripples and whirls and swirls up into a conical shape. Um, and a form comes out and kind of curves over like an S to direct its large head towards the party. So this creature is about 10 feet tall, and it seems to be anchored to this lake. Everybody roll initiative.
Oh boy. See how much trouble his hand is getting me into.
hang on a sec. That's not the right init roll.
That looks like wait, you're
Like
right.
my init should not.
Let me just try something real quick. Huh. It doesn't do it wrong for me.
Weird.
Not only is it weird. Oh, now it works properly.
Now it works properly when I grab that. Clear the slot
Here's what I'm going
there.
to do.
I think it was an old calculation.
It is. I don't know why it did that. I've changed your init to 9 because that was technically the first number you rolled.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, no problem.
You're welcome.
So we've got all that in place. And then let me
Let's let Sareth loose real quick, if he's with us.
let's do what with Sareth?
Let him loose so he can help us.
Does anybody else have thoughts on that? He's down by the boat, by the way. You guys are up near the crater rim.
I mean, are we going into combat, it sounds like?
Yeah. You'd have to go back down and get him, and then set him free, and then come all the way back up.
Okay, screw that.
Yeah. Okay, so the fixer-upper is up first, then the creature itself will go, and then Bob will go.
I don't see the creature in the tracker.
There.
There it is. Okay, so what do I roll to try to identify it?
That's a good question. This one kind of falls between Arcana and Nature. So if you have one or the other of those better, then roll whichever one is better for you. Okay. Unfortunately, you're not quite sure what this creature is. It wasn't a good enough roll.
Damn it.
Only can roll on your turn. Wait. That's Bob that rolled.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't know you could roll on your turn.
Yeah, only on your turn. Sorry.
No worries.
However, that is just good enough to get you some base details. This creature is a water weird. Water weirds are elementals bound to a specific water-filled location, such as a pool or a fountain. They are invisible while immersed in the water, and its serpentine shape becomes clear only when it emerges to attack, using its coils to crush any creature other than its summoner and those its summoner declares off limits. When slain, the water weird becomes an inanimate pool of water once more. Um, like most elementals, a water weird has no concept of good or evil. However, a water weird bound to a sacred or befouled source of water begins to take on the nature of that site, becoming either neutral good or neutral evil. A neutral good water weird tries to frighten away interlopers rather than kill them, while a neutral evil water weird tries to kill its victims for pleasure, and might even turn against its summoner over time. A water weird loses its evil alignment if its waters are cleansed with a purify food and drink spell. As an elemental, it requires no air, food, drink, or sleep. As far as this creature itself goes, it is a large creature. It is resistant to fire, bludgeoning, piercing, and slashing damage from non magical attacks. It is immune to poison, and it has conditioned immunities for exhausted, grappled, paralyzed, poison, restrained, prone, or unconscious.
Resistant to bludgeoning. What was the other damage?
Fire, and then just non-magical weapon attacks of any sort.
Wow, it's a shame that I don't have a magical weapon. I wonder who does. Oh, right. Eric.
Well, I mean, it's resistant, not immune. So, Fixer Upper is up first.
And what's its range? I mean, how far away am I from it?
The creature's in the center of the lake, so you are only 25 feet away from it.
Okay, well then I will rush forward to attack it, melee,
Okay, it's at the end of the dock, so you can do so.
and I will use one of my 3 double attacks per day.
Okay.
And I will attack it with my crappy short sword, which I still have.
Uh-huh. Your trusty short sword, go on. Well.
Now
Okay.
for the crappy damage, it's reduced.
Your trusty short sword manages to partially damage the creature. It takes some of that damage. Of course, being water, it's almost as if you hadn't hit it at all. But there you go.
So I get another attack.
Oh, okay.
Huh. Okay.
Another equally good swing. So next up is the water weird's turn itself. Since you are the person most handy, it swings out a water tentacle towards you. However, you have a shield, right?
Yes.
You manage to use your shield to deflect the watery tentacle that lashes out against you. It's surprisingly jelly-like, so it just bounces off harmlessly. Bob, you're up.
Oh boy. Is it resistant to force damage?
Nope.
Okay.
The special hand can't do.
No, not to this. Actually, I'll clear that out because he's still restrained.
Is it attack or damage? Damage, that's right. Damn it!
Oh well, nice try.
The water weird's jelly-like form actually makes it pretty slippery, and
Mhm.
despite your best attempts to aim at it, the searing, forceful darkness that you project only gets a glancing blow on the creature, but it is extremely effective, and you can see a channel having been dug into the creature upon hit. So next up is Melrath
I'm going to poke it.
with Dawnbringer.
Yes, and I missed.
Melrath charges forward, uh, pulls out Dawnbringer and lights the blade. He swings it at the creature, but a bright object being swung at you like that makes it something you want to avoid. Ront roars, "I'm gonna smash that watery punt!" and then charges forward, wielding his great axe, and for one of the first time misses. The end of the dock is getting rather crowded now, so any other melee characters don't have an opportunity to attack. Um, At this point, Spiderbait takes careful aim, but not careful enough, and his short bow misses completely. Fargus, on the other hand, wait a minute. Fargus, on the other hand, also terribly
On the
misses
same
with his
hand.
fucking crossbow. That's incredible. Sereth is skipped. So now we get to Tazarath, and then Snake will be next.
I am going once a day chromatic orb on this thing. Lightning, if you want to know.
Yeah, I do. Go for it.
Yeah, hang on.
Boom.
Critical hit!
Hell yes. It is time.
Holy shit! Tazarath with triumph claws his hand as the orb appears within it, and he hurls it like a baseball directly at the creature. The water weird, having been attacked from so many different angles, turns to face the chromatic orb just at the time that it struck with it, and the lightning lances across it. You can hear a sizzling and see some bubbles within the water, and it goes into heavy damage. At this point, its form is starting to leak little bits of water, almost as if it were bleeding. Snake, you're up.
I will use Magic Missile.
Go for it. Okay. Mm-hmm. Wow, well done. Um, Snake fires off three pinpricks of light, which lands across the battlefield, twisting and turning between allies and terrain to impact upon the creature without air. It does fairly significant damage, and in addition to digging some channels into it when the magic missiles themselves explode, now it is even further bleeding heavily. Fixer Upper, you are up.
I'm going to use my Channel Divinity to give +10 to the attack.
Okay. So just add to your modifier +10 and then make your normal attack.
Okay.
Hit?
I sure hope so.
Yeah. Excellent.
Oh, I didn't kill him.
Nope.
Damn it.
At this point, it has a great many choices to choose from. I think it's going to try to go against Ront.
No!
Woo!
Ow.
The creature lashes out with its tentacled arm, and it constricts Ront. He is now grappled and restrained, in addition to having taken heavy damage. The tentacle slams him against the dock, and everyone sort of bounces up about an inch and a half from the impact that he makes against the dock. And you can hear a lot of what might be broken bones. Bob, you're up. Save Ront.
I'll think about it.
There we go.
Bless you.
Thank you.
Dissonant
It
whispers?
succeeds, unfortunately. Does that mean it takes half damage?
Let me check.
Dissonant whispers.
Yes.
Okay, so roll your damage. It should go to half. Okay. Um, you. Huh, interesting. Um, from the back row, you hold your hands up to your mouth to make a bit of a cone, and you begin to whisper the dark secrets of the stars that surround your great old one, and
Sweet nothings.
and the horrible truths that you reveal to the water weird um, cause actual gashes to impact upon its surface. It's still holding together, but it is ever closer slipping towards death. Melrath, you are up. 24, excellent hit. Target immune?
What?
Huh. I'm not quite sure what that was about, but Dawnbringer is all it takes to cleave the water weird in half. It suddenly just falls apart completely as if it were normal water, splashes against the surface, and moments later, the lake itself is calm once more.
Let's get Ront out of the water.
Ront is actually still on the dock, and
Oh, I
he
thought you.
has about 3 hit points left. Excellent. Um, the fixer-upper rushes to Ront's aid and presses his hands against him, and you can hear cracks and splintering noises as his damage is repaired.
That
Um,
sounds painful.
it would be if it weren't for the magic itself. So congrats, you guys have defeated the water weird, and now all that's left is the statue down below.
And the fish.
Oh yeah, the fish.
Are there any more water weirds?
Not that you're aware of. You would have expected them all to have shown at once if there was more than one.
Okay.
I mean, to do otherwise would be pretty weird.
Uh,
You knew it was.
Who's going fishing?
We need one person to go fishing and presumably one person to try to extract the pearls from the statue.
I'll go get the pearls.
Okay.
Who can hold their
Snake will
breath
go
the
fishing.
longest?
Snake will go fishing because he's a snake.
That makes excellent sense. Okay. So Eric swims down deep into the water, and you pull out one of the many spare drow daggers that you have. You're able to pry the black pearls free, and you try to do so as carefully as you can so that you don't accidentally, lessen the value of what it is that you're working on. It does take a bit of doing, but first one pops out, and then you work for a little bit on the second one, and then all of a sudden, as you set that second pearl free, there is a black oily liquid that lashes out from the sunken statue and enwraps you. Make a DC 14 save against Constitution. You succeed. Let me see what happens if you succeed. Hmm. Oh, I see. Okay. So, you feel a disease suddenly take hold of your body. Um, I'm trying to
Nice.
determine which one. Uh-huh. Okay, I found it. As soon as it settles into you, your flesh starts to decay. You can see it peel off and turn green and then red as exposed, irritated skin underneath is now up against the water. You swim back up as best you can, um, and your first save against this. Here's how this is going to work. You have disadvantage on charisma checks, and you also have vulnerability to all damage types. At the end of each of your turns, while you are inflicted with this disease, you must make a Constitution saving throw. If you succeed on 3 of those saves, you are no longer diseased and the spell ends. If you fail on 3 of these, you're no longer. There's also a poisoned effect. Um, You're no
Cool.
longer poisoned.
Or I could just use lay on hands.
Yeah, I was going to ask, can lesser restoration cure?
Lesser Restoration cannot. However, Tazarath's ability does specifically allow him to cure disease for 5 points from his pool.
I've got 15, so no, Paladin level 4. I've got 20.
Okay.
So if he just uses 5, it cures a disease.
Yeah, or poison.
Wow, that's really powerful. Paladins are broken.
Yeah, they are. That's why they're basically in every single party.
Diseases no longer have any impact.
Well, the paladin does have to be able to do it if he's taken down, yada yada yada. So, anyways, Melrath
Yeah.
flops himself out onto the diving platform, and he's heaving. He's in a lot of pain. He's kind of rolling around, gripping his arms and stuff, and then yanking his hands away, as it only makes the situation worse. Tazarath, with great disgust, leans forward and charges his hands with the unholy power that he is possessed of, and suddenly grabs Melrath's wounds. And in so doing, the dark power that you worship flows into his body, and suddenly and all at once there's one single giant surge, a seizure from Melrath, and then the disease is vanished, and the extra energy, or the energy that you've expended, also repairs the flesh damage to his skin.
Wow.
Thank you.
It's one
Well,
hell of
Well,
a
that was
disease.
nice.
So, at this point,
While I'm thinking about it, I'll heal Ront the rest of it.
oh, okay. He's got 3 hit points, so I'm just going to set him to 0, and you can subtract 3 from your pool.
Mhm.
At this point, it is 9 o'clock. I know from where we're at that there are no further battles. There's a short thing, and then we would be at the lip of Graxlug. We can either continue from this point next time, or we can get as far as that and then pick up from Graxlug.
I would like to hold here.
Okay.
Unless
And-
there's any objections.
Nope.
No.
Okay. Let me just make a quick check mark so I know where we left off. Here. Perfect. Okay, thank you guys so much for playing, and good night.